So I, female 34, have been with my boyfriend Mark, male 36, for 14 years. We have 2 kids together, Aiden, 11, and Sophie, 8. We never got married, even though we've built a life together. Mark always had some excuse about the timing not being right, or we're basically married anyway, so why bother with a piece of paper? I never pushed it because I was busy with the kids and my nursing career. Last night, Mark told me his family is doing their annual beach house vacation next month. He said the kids are invited, but I'm not welcome because it would be boring family stuff and I wouldn't have fun. I was like, excuse me. After 14 years together, I'm not considered family. I've spent almost half my life with this man and had 2 of his children, but somehow I'm still not family enough for their vacation. Mark got super defensive when I brought this up. He kept saying it's just how my family planned it and that I should stop making this a big deal. But it is a big deal. Our kids are confused too. Aiden actually asked why mom isn't family, and Mark just changed the subject. I reluctantly agreed to let the kids go without me because I don't want them to miss out, but something feels really off about this whole situation. Mark has been acting strange lately, taking calls in the other room or stepping outside, being super vague about vacation details, and texting his sister Elaine like crazy. That last part is especially weird because they've never been close. I've always felt like an outsider with Mark's family. They're old money, and I'm just a nurse from a regular middle-class family. His sister Elaine has always been cold towards me. There was this time at their family Christmas party where she accidentally spilled an entire glass of red wine on my white dress and barely even apologized. Just went, oops, with this little smirk and walked away. Mark said I was overreacting when I got upset about it. I earn a decent living as a nurse and pay for half our household expenses. I'm not with Mark for his money, but his family always acts like I'm some gold digger. His parents are always polite, but in that fake way. They make these little comments about my interesting career choice and ask when I might settle down properly with their son. Last year, I spent weeks planning Mark's birthday dinner, made all his favorites, got the kids to help decorate. His parents showed up with this expensive, catered dessert that completely upstaged my homemade cake. Sophie didn't even want my cake after seeing theirs. I cried in the bathroom, but no one even noticed I was gone. Mark's family has this weird tradition where sometimes they take the grandkids on men-only hunting trips or women-only shopping days, but this is the first time the entire family is going somewhere, and I'm specifically not invited. When I asked if his ex-girlfriend Cassandra would be at the beach house, he got all defensive and said I was being paranoid. I asked Mark why I wasn't invited to the family vacation, and he just sighed like I was being annoying and said it wasn't a big deal. I reminded him that we've been together for 14 years and have 2 children together, so I'm family. He said his parents set it up this way and he didn't want to rock the boat. I asked if there was something he wasn't telling me, and he got defensive, saying I always make things complicated. He promised to make it up to me with a separate vacation, which is not the point at all. When I asked if he was embarrassed by me around his family, he stormed out. He slept on the couch last night and barely spoke to me this morning. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I overreacting? Something just feels off, like there's something he's not telling me. I trust Mark. We've been together since we were basically kids, but there are so many red flags here. I broke my own rule and checked his phone this morning while he was in the shower. I know, invasion of privacy, but I was desperate. All I saw were some texts with his sister about making arrangements and something about everything being set up as planned. Should I push harder to be included or just let it go? Maybe it really is just about his family being snobby and not accepting me because I don't come from money. But after 14 years, that seems crazy. Edit. No, we don't have any serious relationship problems. We're actually really good together most of the time. We rarely fight, and when we do, it's usually over small stuff like housework or scheduling conflicts. This vacation thing is completely out of nowhere. Edit 2. A lot of people are asking why we never got married. Honestly, it just never seemed that important. We're committed to each other and our kids. Mark always said marriage is just a piece of paper, and I guess I went along with it because I was focused on other things. Now for the first update. First, thanks to everyone who commented on my last post. To the person who suggested I check the bank accounts, I owe you a drink because holy shit was that eye-opening. I'm not usually the snooping type, but something just felt so off about this whole situation that I couldn't let it go. I started by checking our shared finances. We have separate accounts, but also a joint one for household expenses. I noticed Mark had been transferring $1,200 every month from his personal account to some account I didn't recognize for over 2 years. That's almost $30,000 total. I remembered we have this cloud backup thing for photos that sometimes also backs up texts when his phone is on our home Wi-Fi. I know, I shouldn't have looked, but I did. And I found all these weird messages between him and Elaine about arrangements and what she doesn't know won't hurt her and all this stuff about meeting times and logistics. So I casually asked Aiden, my 11-yo, about these family gatherings he's gone to without me. I was like super casual about it, I think. Just asking what they do, who's there, etc. And he got this weird look on his face and eventually mentioned something about the little girl who looks like Daddy, who he played with last summer. I literally couldn't breathe for a second. Mark told me he was meeting a client yesterday evening, so I know this is bad. I followed him. He went to this cafe across town and met with this woman, and she had a little girl with her, maybe 2 or 3 years old. And the kid had Mark's dimples and his weird bluish-green eyes that everyone always comments on. I thought I was going to throw up right there in my car. I did more digging. I barely slept and found out the woman's name is Valerie. She worked with Mark on some project about 3 years ago. And actually, now that I think about it, Mark was super distant after that project ended. I thought it was just work stress. I found Valerie on Instagram and saw pictures from her daughter Lily's birthday party a few months back. There were cards in the background saying "Happy 3rd birthday, princess" and stuff like that, which lines up perfectly with this business trip Mark took 3 years and 9 months ago, a trip that he extended by 3 days, claiming the client needed extra meetings. Extra meetings. That's one way to put it, I guess. And now I'm realizing there were so many signs over the years. The unexplained late nights, the work trips where he'd barely call, the times he'd get super defensive if I picked up his phone to take a picture, how he'd freak out if I answered his phone when he was in the shower. I confronted Mark about the money transfers, and he gave me this bullshit story about saving for his parents' anniversary surprise. But he couldn't explain why it needed to be $1,200 every month, or why it's been going on for years when their anniversary is next month. I decided to talk to Elaine directly. I recorded our conversation, which is legal in my state, one-party consent. I called her and asked to meet about family vacation details, and she reluctantly agreed to coffee. When we met, I started with small talk about the vacation plans. Elaine was being her usual condescending self, saying I had no business planning this and that everything was already arranged. I let her talk for a bit, and then just straight up told her I saw Mark with a little girl who looks exactly like him. You guys should have seen her face. She got all flustered and said it was complicated and tried to change the subject. I showed her the bank statements and some of the texts I found. She tried to say it was all a misunderstanding, but I told her I was going straight to Mark's parents with everything I knew unless she told me the truth right now. She broke. Turns out Mark had an affair with Valerie during that business trip 3 years ago. She got pregnant. When she told Mark, he freaked out, but agreed to pay child support. Valerie didn't want to break up our family, at least that's what Elaine claims, but wanted Mark to acknowledge their daughter and provide financial support. Here's the really fucked up part. Elaine found out about the whole situation and has been blackmailing her own brother. She threatened to tell me and their parents if Mark didn't pay her too. That's why the payments are so high. Part goes to Valerie and Lily, and part goes to Elaine's greedy ass. And the beach house vacation. It was specifically arranged so the grandparents could spend time with all their grandchildren, including Lily, without me knowing. Apparently, they've done this before on those men-only hunting trips, which weren't actually hunting trips at all. Elaine admitted she orchestrated all this because she never thought I was good enough for her brother, and this gave her leverage over both Mark and their family dynamics. She literally said, "Mark could have done so much better than some nurse," right to my face. I'm completely devastated. My parents divorced when I was 16 because my dad had an affair. I remember my mom taking him back at first and how miserable everyone was. I swore I'd never stay with a cheater. But now I have 2 kids to think about, and apparently a stepdaughter who didn't ask to be born into this mess. I don't blame the little girl at all. But Valerie, she had to know Mark was in a relationship with kids. Though I guess Elaine made it sound like Valerie at least tried to be respectful about it. I don't know what to think anymore. I'm completely done with Mark. Though part of me wonders if we could work through this with counseling. But then I think about all the lies, years of lies, and how his entire family was in on it. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out what to do next. I have a plan forming. I'm going to handle this on my terms, not theirs. I'll update when I can. Thanks for listening. Edit. To everyone asking if I knew for sure the payments were going to Valerie, not initially. I just saw regular withdrawals going to an account number I didn't recognize. It wasn't until Elaine confessed that I understood what they were for. Now for the second update. So it's been almost 2 months since I found out about Mark's affair with Valerie and their daughter Lily, and the whole blackmail thing with his sister. A lot has happened. Like, a lot. I've been putting off this update because I didn't know where to start, but here goes. After confirming everything with Elaine, I spent 3 days just feeling really out of it. I kept having to act normal around the kids while feeling terrible. I'd randomly start crying while doing laundry or making dinner, then have to lock myself in the bathroom so Aiden and Sophie wouldn't see. I barely slept, couldn't eat. I decided I needed to hear Valerie's side directly. I was only getting information through Elaine and Mark, who had been lying to me for years. So I found Valerie on Instagram and sent her a message asking if we could talk. I tried to be civil even though I wanted to scream at her. She agreed to meet at a coffee shop halfway between our towns. I was so nervous I almost threw up in the bathroom before she arrived. I got there early and had 3 cups of coffee, which was a terrible idea because I was already shaking from nerves. When Valerie walked in, I instantly recognized her from when I followed Mark that day. She looked terrified and guilty. According to Valerie, she and Mark had a brief affair during that business trip, literally like 3 days. She found out she was pregnant a few weeks later and told Mark. She said she didn't know how serious our relationship was at first. Mark had told her we were on and off and basically separated, but staying together for the kids. When she found out the truth, she said she never wanted to break up our family, just wanted Mark to acknowledge their daughter and provide financial support. She showed me her bank statements. Out of the $1,200 Mark sends monthly, she only gets around $500. Elaine keeps the rest. That's more than half, as insurance to keep quiet. Valerie forwarded me dozens of threatening emails from Elaine saying if Valerie ever contacted me directly, Elaine would make her look like a scheming homewrecker. Elaine even threatened to try to get custody of Lily taken away by making up stuff about Valerie being an unfit mother. It was horrifying. So I made a plan, and looking back, maybe it wasn't the most mature approach, but honestly, I was just so angry and hurt, and I wanted everyone to face what they'd done. I booked a flight to the beach house where they were all having their family vacation. I arranged for my friend to watch the kids. They hadn't left for the vacation yet. That was scheduled for the next day. I took a personal day from the hospital where I work. The whole flight there, I kept almost backing out. But then I'd remember how Mark and his entire family had been laughing behind my back for years, treating me like I wasn't even worthy of knowing the truth. And I'd get angry all over again. I had this whole folder with printouts of the bank statements, the text messages between Mark and Elaine, and a recording of Elaine's confession, which is legal in my state, one-party consent. The woman next to me on the plane definitely moved seats, lol. I took an Uber from the airport to the beach house. I knew exactly where it was since I'd been there for weekend trips before. Never the real family vacation, though. It was around 7 p.m., so I figured they'd be having dinner. I was right. I knocked on the door, but no one answered, so I tried the handle. It was unlocked. I could hear voices from the dining room. I just walked right in. Everyone was shocked when I appeared in the doorway. Mark knocked over his wine glass. Elaine went white. Mark's parents looked confused. And there, sitting in a high chair at the table, was a little girl with Mark's dimples and eyes. Mark asked what I was doing there, and Elaine tried to say this wasn't the time or place. I just asked who the beautiful little girl was. Mark's parents looked confused, and his mom said this was Lily, and asked if Mark hadn't told me. That's when I realized they didn't know that I didn't know. They thought Mark had told me about his daughter, and I was just okay with not being invited to family events with her. I calmly placed my folder of evidence on the table and started laying out the bank statements, the texts, everything. Elaine tried to grab the papers, but I played the recording of her confession. Mark's parents were horrified when they heard about the blackmail. They turned to Elaine in shock. Mark broke down and admitted everything, how he was too afraid to tell the truth, how Elaine had been taking most of the money meant for Lily's support. I somehow managed to keep it together. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just laid out the facts and watched their family dinner fall apart. I left pretty quickly after that. Stayed at a hotel nearby because I was too exhausted to deal with getting back to the airport right away. The aftermath has been complicated. It's been about 2 months now. Mark moved out temporarily while we figure things out. We've started couples counseling to determine if there's anything left to save. I'm not saying we're definitely going to break up, but I'm also not saying we're definitely staying together. It's day by day right now. I've met Lily several times. She's innocent in all this and deserves to know her siblings. She's sweet, looks so much like Sophie did at that age. Elaine has been basically cut off by her parents until she gets therapy for her manipulative behavior. They were horrified by what she did. Apparently, they knew about Lily for about 2 years but had no idea about the blackmail. They thought I knew about her too and was just being difficult about family gatherings. Mark's parents have apologized to me so many times. His mom actually called me family for the first time ever, which would have meant a lot more before all this. Mark is doing individual therapy along with our couples sessions. He's taking full responsibility for his actions. He keeps saying he wants to make it work and that he'll spend the rest of his life making it up to me. I still cry myself to sleep some nights. I still have moments where the anger is so intense I can barely breathe. The kids are also in therapy to help them process everything. We tried to explain the situation as age-appropriately as possible. Aiden actually took it better than I expected. He said he figured out something was weird when he met the girl who looks like Daddy last summer. We're developing a co-parenting arrangement that includes Lily. The first meeting between all 3 kids was interesting. Aiden was hesitant at first, barely looking at Lily while Sophie immediately wanted to show Lily all her toys. Then Lily showed Aiden her favorite stuffed dinosaur, and that broke the ice. Sophie announced that she always wanted a little sister anyway, which made Mark wince. Mark thanked me for being so compassionate toward Lily. I told him it wasn't compassion. It was just doing what's right. Lily deserves to know her family. I told him my forgiveness would take time, if it comes at all. I'm realizing this situation wasn't just about the affair. It was about years of being treated as less than by Mark's family. The blackmail scheme just showed how little respect Elaine had for me and my children. Even Mark's parents still thought it was okay to exclude me from family events for years. Right now, I'm focused on creating stability for all 3 children while processing my own feelings. I don't know if Mark and I will stay together. Some days I think maybe we can work through this. Other days I remember all the lies and can't imagine ever trusting him again. But I will never again allow myself to be pushed aside or lied to. Not by Mark, not by his family, not by anyone. Edit. To everyone saying I'm a saint for even considering staying with Mark, I'm not. I'm just trying to make the best decisions for my kids in an impossible situation. And no, I've never once taken my anger out on Lily. She's innocent in all this. Edit 2. Several people asked if I'm still working with the same therapist who helped me through the initial crisis. Yes, I am. She's been amazing. And yes, Mark and I have separate therapists in addition to our couples counselor. Edit 3. For those asking if Elaine has apologized, kind of. She sent a text that said, "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." Not exactly taking responsibility. Mark's parents are making her go to therapy as a condition of continuing to support her financially. She's 32, but apparently still gets money from them regularly, which explains a lot, actually.